spiritual instructors now are saying that we gotta do some retreats, that we gotta be quiet inside ourselves, but that now they're also saying that we need to do these things in group. So now the work is the same one. Now, you can work in group with your concentration, and also you can work by yourself by doing your retreat. But if you are with these two things in your mind, try to do both things. First you do a retreat, then you work in group. Then you go back to do a retreat, then you go back to work in group. Because in this way you will be harmonizing, you will be balancing your being, your bodies, and there you're going to see which is your tendency, if it's to assume a longer retreat or if it's to assume a position of work, of donation in a work, or if you gotta mix both things. When we've got doubt about these things, we just gotta experiment and waiting to the reaction of the bodies and waiting to know the will of the soul. And in that way the task, it begins to be clear, because it is not the important thing is not to have preconceptions. It's just to do an experience, little experience, and then you observed, because there everything will end up in an authentic task. And another person is asking if certain stimulations, stimulations with mushrooms, if this is a part for a spiritual path, and if this has to be maintained, because this person has many invitations in order to experiment this and to continue experimenting this, and this person would like to know if it has to continue with this. Well, all of the experiences that we had with all of these external experiences, everything, all of this is an illusion, because those experiences aren't real. This is an artificial way of you to have experiences, and when the effect is done of that drug, when the effect of that simulation is over, the experience ends and you feel yourself in a great emptiness. Which means that it's necessary that the experience happen in a real way, to have a real experience. And while talking about visions, there are visions that drugs bring to us that are an illusion, that aren't a part of a real reality. The visions that we gotta have and that are real are those visions that we've got with the consciousness. And this, you will know it when you have one of it. It's a vision with the consciousness. It's your consciousness that shows it to you. Or your superior being can use your pituitary gland, and then your inner being shall stimulate that gland. And when the superior being is the one who stimulates this gland and that you can see it, then you will see what he's trying to show to you. But when you are in a drug, under the effect of a drug, then you will go to a certain space and eventually you will leave your path. So the real vision is the one that is sent and organized by our inner eye, our inner being, and not for these things that so many people offer to us. Well, a person is saying that became vegetarian a long time ago, and that her vitality is going down, and he doesn't know what to do. Look, if you are feeling some lacks, it's because you did all of this in an abruptly way. You gotta do this little by little. Do not force your physical body, neither force your astral body with your emotions, neither your mental body with your emotions. You proceed with care, changing your alimentation little by little. And there's a lot of people that with an enthusiasm do this change in an abruptly way, because one day a person has one ray and is with an energy that do not allow an abrupt change. Sometimes people are with an energy that things goes right when they do a little transition. When we are with certain rays, for example, the first, the third, the fifth, then we have all of the forces in order to break certain things. But when we are in the second, fourth, and sixth rays, we gotta do things in transition. We gotta adapt ourselves to the things, and then everything will go right. And in here, as we'd seen it in the beginning, we have some certain receipts of vegan milks and of some receipts about vegetarian food that help us in order to do this transition little by little. A person says that it works, that we are invited to work in order to avoid certain events. That's why we've been asked to do a lot of prayers in order to avoid certain events. And this person is asking, but if they are asking us to pray in order to force that some events do not happen, isn't it better just to wait that things happen how they have to happen? Look, when the superior plans, the divine messengers ask for a thing, they have a vision very wide about the matter, and we have a vision according to our point of view that is very restricted. Our point of view is mental, so our point of view is in the limits of our mind. But if a divine instructor asks to you in order to work to avoid a certain event, the divine instructor is able to see this in a very wide way, and he or she knows that this event can be transformed if we, humanity, shall collaborate. We do not about this, but the divine instructor knows about it. So if they ask us in order to collaborate so that certain events do not happen, is because in the book of the karma is reading that for that in order to not to happen, we would need to intervene, to collaborate. So I am saying this because if the divine messengers requested you to do this, they know it, because they know where the plan would like to take us and where the plan will bring these things. When we enter in contact with the divine messengers, we gotta have a basic idea that it's good to follow them, because if a divine messenger says a certain thing, if it gives us an orientation and we do not follow it, they stop to warning us. They do not lose their energy no more. So if something is asked to us and if we continue in faith, because he's able to see beyond us, then you become servers. With time, we become an instrument of what they will begin, what they show. But if you think that it isn't in this way, this is a sign that very hardly they are going to ask us for another thing. But if it was truly something sent by the divine instructor, then you will need to act in faith, because those laws, those spiritual laws, aren't as a terrestrial laws, earthly laws. Here on the earth, we gotta have all of the care, because all care is little in order to follow something that is happening in the earth. But if it's something that comes from the superior plans, that is something to obey that immediately, because that is in another time. And if we aren't able to see this difference in between our attitude here on earth and our attitude before a divine messenger, very hardly we're going to become a right server.
E uma pessoa gostaria de que se falasse pouco a respeito da androginia,
And a
porque
person would like that
ele
we talk a little
gostaria
bit
até
about
de que nós
androgyny.
fizéssemos uma palestra sobre isso.
They would like to us
Nós temos muito
to do
material sobre a
a
androginia que
lecture
já
about
foi
this. Well, we
gravado.
got a lot of material about androgyny that was recorded
Em
in the
resumo,
past.
porque esta é uma partilha de
But
assuntos
in a
gerais, não é uma
nutshell, because
partilha só
this is
sobre
a lecture
androginia. Mas em
regarding many
resumo,
subjects, but in a nutshell,
nós vemos a
we
androginia
see the
como uma evolução
androgyny
da
as an
alma,
evolution of the soul.
principalmente. A alma
The
vai
soul,
se unindo, porque a alma
it
tem
begins
dois
to unite
aspectos.
itself
A
because the
alma
soul
tem
has
seu
two
aspecto
aspects,
feminino e
has
seu
their
aspecto
feminine
masculino.
aspect and their masculine
Então, assim
aspect.
que a alma
It's in this
vai
way
desenvolver
because the
ou
soul, in
outro,
order to
ela
develop one
encarna
or
no
the
corpo
other,
feminino
they
ou no
incarnate
corpo
in a feminine
masculino
or in
para
a
desenvolver
masculine
aquele
body in order
aspecto.
to develop
E
that
na outra
aspect, and
encarnação,
in the other
troca
incarnation it
essa
changes
coisa.
it.
Então, a alma
So the
desenvolve
soul
o masculino
develops the
ou o
masculine
feminino
or the feminine
sucessivamente, paulatinamente. Chega um
in a
momento
palatine
em que
way,
o
and then it
feminino
comes a
e o
moment
masculino
when the
já
masculine and the
chegaram a
feminine
uma certa
already achieve
maturidade,
a
já têm
certain
uma certa
maturity. They
maturidade.
have a certain
Então,
maturity,
os
and
próximos
then
passos
the
eles vão
next
dar
steps they will
juntos.
take them together,
Então,
which
o
means
próximo
that the
passo
next step
é esses dois aspectos,
is
masculino
for
e
these two
feminino,
aspects,
se
the feminine
tornarem
and the aspect,
andrógenos.
is to
Isto é,
become
esses dois
androgynous.
aspectos
These
se
two
unem,
aspects
se
unite
fundem em
themselves,
só.
melt
E aí
themselves,
surge o
and
ser
become in
andrógeno.
one. And
Mas
then
o ser
it
andrógeno
appears the
surge
androgynous being.
quando
But
ele já
this being
está
appears when it is
suficientemente desenvolvido do
enough
ponto de vista
developed from the
feminino
feminine
e
and
já
from the
está
masculine point of view.
suficientemente desenvolvido do ponto de vista masculino. Então, o próximo
So
passo
the
é o
next
masculino e
step
o
is the
feminino dele
masculine and
se
feminine
unirem,
uniting themselves
subirem, ascenderem para o alto e aí
to
se torna
ascend,
ser andrógeno.
to elevate
O
themselves,
ser andrógeno,
to rise themselves to the
como
heights.
Jesus era o
And for
andrógeno
example,
perfeito.
Jesus was a
Jesus
perfect
foi o andrógeno
androgynous being.
perfeito que
He
para
was the
nós é uma
perfect
referência.
androgynous, and
Não
he
era
is a
masculino
reference
nem
for us
feminino,
because
era
he was no
andrógeno.
masculine, no
E o
feminine. He was
andrógeno
androgynous.
perfeito
And the
tem o
perfect
alinhamento
androgynous has the
perfeito,
perfect
não, com seus
alignment
planos
with their
superiores, ou com os
superior
planos
plans
superiores da
or with the
criação.
superior plans of the
Então,
creation.
é
So it's
preciso
necessary
evoluir,
to
não é?
evolve,
Para se
right,
tornar
in order to
andrógeno.
become an
Não
androgynous
somos
being.
nós que nos
But it
tornamos
isn't
andrógenos.
us
É o
who
nosso ser interno
become
que vai
androgynous. It's our inner
resolvendo
being that
isso com as duas
resolved
polaridades
this
e que
with
se
their polarities
transforma
and
num
that
andrógeno.
transformed
E nós
into
vamos
an
seguindo
androgynous
isso.
being. And we
Agora, uma
just
pergunta
follow
que
this.
muitos fazem,
Now, a question that many do,
como Cristo Jesus era o andrógeno perfeito,
and because
como foi
Christ Jesus was
apresentado,
a perfect
uma
androgynous
pergunta
as it
que
was
as
presented
pessoas
to us,
fazem
a
é
question
se
that
um
many people do to
andrógeno
us is that if an
procria.
androgynous is
Sim,
able to
andrógeno pode
procreate.
procriar.
Yes, an
Só que
androgynous
um
can
andrógeno não
procreate, but
procria
an
como as pessoas
androgynous
normais,
cannot
que
procreate
decidem
as
procriar e vão
ordinary
procriando.
people that they
O
decide
andrógeno
to
pode procriar
procreate
se
and they
for
just do it.
necessário.
An
Se
androgynous
estiver na
can
linha
procreate
da
if it's
procriação,
necessary,
ele
but if they
pode
are in the
procriar.
line of procreation,
Só
he
que
or
a
she can
procriação de
procreate.
andrógeno não
Just
é
the procreation
ato de
of an
prazer,
androgynous, it
mas
isn't an act of pleasure. On the
um
other
ato de
hand, is an
serviço.
act of
E
service,
quando é
and
importante
when
para o plano
it's
evolutivo.
only important to the evolutive plan.
E uma pessoa sente uma batalha espiritual
And a
da qual
person
ele não
feels
consegue
an
sair.
spiritual battle and cannot
E ele se
leave from
enterou
this situation.
que está
And he knew
preso
that
nele
is
uma certa entidade que não é muito evolutiva. E que quando ele começa a se conectar com a luz,
that is connected to
essa
he a
entidade
certain
reage
involutive
muito
energy, and
e
each time that he
tenta
tries to
prejudicá-lo.
connect with the light, that entity
E ele
in
duvida de
him
tudo isso e não tem fé
do not let
que
him
ele
to
possa
change it.
fazer alguma coisa.
So he has no faith in order to see
Olha,
if he can do
essas
something about
reações
it.
da personalidade
Look,
são
some
normais,
reactions of the
porque o
personality
ego
are
humano
normal because the
quer
human
continuar no
ego
comando.
wants to
O ego
continue
humano
in the commanding things. And it is necessary to see if this, that for you is an entity, if actually this isn't an aspect of your ego that is trying for you to not leave your place. Because in this way he will be commanding you, and you're saying that you are obeying with this happens. So, well, this can be your ego dressed up as this in order to hold you in this situation. So it's necessary to assume this, to place this possibility that actually could be your own ego, an aspect of yourself, and to ask help to the spiritual hierarchy, because the spiritual hierarchy will know how to deal with this. Now, you need faith, strength of will, and it's also necessary a clarity of intention. Do never judge what this is trying to oppress you. This is a task for a visionary, for example, that at this moment you don't have one. You need a spiritual hierarchy, trusting in them, because they will give you a solution for this.
E aqui, uma pessoa diz que gostaria muito de ser vegetariana.
And in here, there's a person saying that would like to be vegetarian, but many times she feels the necessity of eating meat, and she cannot dominate it. Sometimes she eats fish, but she thinks in the cruelty that is done with the animals so that they become our alimentation, our food, and she has a very big conflict with this. So, if you think about the suffering of animals that live prisoners in worms, when they are treated in a not human way in order to produce things, and when they stop producing things, they are just assassins, and their meat is just sell. If you're okay with all of that, if you are able to see all of this, then assume it. You read this book of the galactrolatry, read this book, and you will be healed from this state. And we've got also in here a CD that is freely distributed. That is just to ask to this author, contacto@servegano.com.br, and if you do that contact, you will be receiving for free this CD. And in here is mentioned something that a philosopher used to say. If the places, if the slaughterhouse have window glass walls, everyone will stop eating meat, which means that this could be a great impulse, and everyone needs an impulse in order to feel what the soul tries to tell us about stop eating meat.
Uma pessoa está realizando serviço nos hospitais.
Someone is accomplishing some services at hospitals, and he currently is accompanying a patient that has HIV, AIDS. Is in a hospital in the city of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and he would like to know which is the attitude of a real server before the soul that confesses to him, because these patients that he takes care of, especially this patient that has AIDS, confesses himself with this person, and he would like to know which is the real attitude towards a person that is confessing, that is doing a confession, and this person confesses to him that he committed and murdered, and that he was never proceeded about for this. And this is very strong inside him. And he says what to do with a person like this, because denounce it, because report him, what to do, what is the attitude of a server before a fact like this. Well, the human laws has to be considered, because human laws are also laws. But there are also the spiritual laws. The spiritual laws sometimes has nothing to do with the human laws. Human laws are one thing to be obeyed here on earth, but the spiritual laws has nothing to do with this, and the spiritual law is in another plane. So you are in a test that you will have to begin to be before these two kinds of laws, because if you are accomplishing this service with terminal patients like this one, you will have this, you will see this task, this test many times. Look, always, every time that we are in front a case like this one, we gotta have an absolute certainty that God is present. That's the first thing of all. It's not you and the patient that is in there. There, the mainly thing that is in there is God. And if you feel that God is present in there, and if you look for listening the patient and see that God is in there, another action happens in there. It isn't necessary for you to say something, because there another action begins. There you will perceive that something begins to happen, and that it is not exactly you the one who will be doing it. You attracted that, because you were in there with the intention of helping the other, and something there begins to happen. I'm saying this in your case. It could not be the case of everyone, but you have a history of service very wide in this field. So you gotta have very present that in there there's something going on, and it isn't you. And we stay in this situation always having present that reality that is acting, and this happens when we achieve this conclusion that because every time that we see a situation like this, we think that we were the one doing it. But every time that we do something right, it wasn't us, it was God who did it. This is how we prepare ourselves for that moment in order to something happen, that it is exactly what has to happen. So you gotta, with time, affirm to yourself that every time that you did wrong, it was you by yourself. But all of the things that you done right until now, it wasn't you, it was God, the one who created you. And in this way is how you will be preparing yourself to accomplish this task each time better. And another person is asking regarding a certain book that is very famous, but I do not know this book, so I cannot give an opinion about it. But this person is asking if he should continue with the teachings of the hierarchy, from the hierarchy of the divine beings, or if he has to continue with the teachings from this book. Well, not knowing the merits of this book or not, because I do not know the book. The best thing to do is that in certain moments we do not mix teachings, because before so many manifestations of the teachings, we gotta find the one that corresponds to us. The teaching itself is only one that can be presented in different aspects, as it could be this book, for example. But you gotta see which is the one that is more related to you, which is the one that is going to help you in order to walk to a next stage. And there you will see, by entering in contact with this, what is the best option. But you gotta be 100% in one of them until you finish the stage. And after you finish that stage, the question will appear again, if it is to continue or is to change the teaching. You gotta live stage by stage, not mixing things, and every time until a stage finishes. If you are in the middle of a development of receiving the teachings with the divinity, that means that will take you to a certain point. And then when you feel that cycle finished, or that you gotta continue in another level in that matter, then you will feel it. And a person would like to know, would like that we to comment the daily thought of the 18th of February 2016 that says, certain transformations correspond to cyclic groupal moments. This is the thought of the 18th of February. Certain transformations correspond to cyclic groupal movements. So this thought refers itself to the calmness, to the karma of the group. We have a personal karma, we have a karma as a group, we've got a national karma, or the karma of our nation, and we've got the planetary karma. All of this forms our karma. So when the thought of the day says certain transformations correspond to cyclical groupal movements, this is about your karma. So you gotta see yourself inside the group, which role you are assuming, with care, because into the group you are working your groupal karma. When we work the groupal karma, that reflects in the individual karma, and when we are in the individual karma, this produces a certain attraction for us in order to enter in the group. And both karmas are real, the groupal karma and the individual karma. And it's all about for us to being able to do this synthesis, to not turn our backs to one or to the other in order to develop both types of karma. Because if you've got, then you will have an individual karma and a groupal karma, both of them in harmony. And if you do this, you will begin to feel the planetary karma. That then you will need to have a major discernment and a deeper way of seeing things. But this will happen when you begin to balance your spiritual karma with the karma of a group, because there is a group of souls. So your soul begins to learn how to deal in group. When you have all of that with a lot of harmony as a group, then that group will begin to perceive the planetary karma, this in an overall way to speak. Maybe in some specific case can be different. But of course that this begins to grow, and then the national karma, and then the planetary karma, they come another kind of karmas. But there we are not in this process as individuals. In this process we are as a greater group. It's very good that when we observe our personal points, that we always shall remember that we are apart from a greater thing, and each time that we decide in a personal way, that is going to reflect in some other stages that will come ahead, planetary groupal stages, which means that each time that we deal with others with a certain responsibility, we gotta be very careful Because we aren't a separate thing from the universe, we begin to find ourselves each time in bigger and bigger groups. And in here we got a person that would like to clarify what it means, to be clarified about what it means. What means when Mary says, remove from your minds all of the ideas of a spiritualized life by your real I, by your real me. So she is making she's referring to a certain thing of the spiritual life. Our ideas about the spiritual life are all false, because we cannot have an idea about something that we never experienced, so they're always wrong. There is no a fixed rule for the spiritual path. So any idea that you shall have about this is wrong. You gotta have this in mind, you gotta have this in your consciousness. You gotta know that you have to live what science tells you in order to begin to comprehend a certain thing, but remove all of the ideas from a spirituality life. Just let that your real I do this idea. We are accomplishing doing a spiritual path, but you cannot have ideas about this path. You know if the path is right or not. You have a heart that talks to you, and if the heart says that that's the path, then you just walk. Just try to walk. It's all about walking and not wanting to completely comprehend what's going on. This is some fake. If we are in the spiritual plan, we are not going to know what is going to happen tomorrow or what is going to happen from here to 1 hour ahead. I just gotta be in here, living the moment, living the present. I'm just going in a path. The important thing is that I always continue, not that I want to know what is it about, because the mind
Então é preciso que você simplesmente vá caminhando. Se trata de caminhar.
So it's all about walking. Just walking and not to trying to comprehend what is going on. If you think that you comprehend, you gotta be sure that you are tricked, because the path is to be walked. And there things will begin to be developed, and then you will begin to observe things in a better way. And the same person is asking if we could talk more about what Mary means when she says, mature your consciousnesses, mature your spirits. Yes, because while we accept and apply what we have received, is that our consciousness, our spirit begins to evolve. And as much as our consciousness evolves, our spirit evolves, less questions you got. So if you are evolving, what is going to disappear are the questions, because it's all about walking. It's all about to say yes and go forward. And in here we are referring to a life and in here we are making a reference to a person that is already in the path. And the key for all of this is faith and service. If you got faith that you are in the path, because if you weren't in the path, then God will place you in the right path. So you have faith in order to know that you are in the path. Have faith that it is the path. But if it isn't, God will place you in the path. So it's necessary faith and service. Because faith and service, they go together. Faith without service doesn't work. And service without faith is called work, not service. Work is a thing, service is another. Service without faith is work. And faith without service, it isn't a complete, a real faith. This has been said by Saint Paul. And a person is saying that his whole life is a conflict, and that in dreams they come to his mind many conflicts with family members, conflicts in the world, and that he's always to maintain peace. But the anguish that he feels, it just grows more and more. Well, these are trials, because if you are seriously in the path, definitely an involutive energy will try to take you away, to remove you from the path. These are trials. And when you are before your family, your friends, professionals like you, if you got this idea that everything is a test, then when there's a discussion, for example, where there's a difference, the most evolved person silence, to not participate from the situation. This is a principle, this is a law. Exchanging ideas, collaboration, all of this is valid, but when a discussion begins, in the family, in the work, anywhere, if a discussion begins, you just silence yourself until that turns another path, and a conversion of an exchange of ideas, etc. There, yes, then you will feel more safe about sharing. And related with the last partilha, the last sharing, she got very worried because it's been said that people isn't making enough effort as they could do. And now she's very worried about this, and that she's waiting for an answer. Well, humanity doesn't correspond. This is truth. And overall, people do not respond to the opportunities that they're receiving. They are in a different reality. So, if people in general aren't doing enough efforts if they could, this is a reality. You cannot have a doubt about this. People in general, they do not correspond to the opportunities that they are receiving. This is a fact, and everyone can see it. Now, of course, that this are almost all. But in almost all, there are some exceptions. Now, if you are with this doubt, and if you are in conflict, because Mary has said this, then you have a conflict. Then you having a conflict, it isn't a good sign, because if you are doing all what you can do and a little bit more, then Mary wasn't referring to you. But if you are not doing all what you can do and a little bit more, that means that actually you are in the group of the others that are truly receiving an opportunity, but they aren't corresponding to that opportunity. But that's you, the one who has to perceive it, because the hierarchy says we do 30% of what we gotta do when we do that 30%. And if the hierarchy says something like this, it's because we gotta hear it. So it's necessary to follow that antique old idea of the contemplatives, to do all what you can do, and when you cannot give more, just to do a little bit more. Then you just leave this 30%, the average, those 70% with no knowledge and all. If you do all what you can and a little bit more, there you just remove from the 70%. Now, I think, my impression for what is being observed, the reference that the divine messengers given to us, is that we
estamos na
are
situação
in a
de
situation
sempre
of
acharmos
always
que não
thinking
estamos fazendo
that we are not doing
jamais
everything.
achar que está fazendo tudo o que pode.
We never think that we are
Essa
doing all what
insatisfação
we can do.
é
That
o que te dá o
insatisfaction
impulso
is what gives
de
you the
prosseguir.
impulse of
Agora, não fique medindo,
continue.
não fique avaliando,
Do not
não fique se
measure
se
things, do
julgando,
not
nada
judge
disso.
yourself, not
Você
any of
sabe
that. You know
que
that
teria que fazer
you
muito
would
mais,
have to do way
comece a
more.
fazer. E não
Then,
fique
if you know
medindo
this,
as
just do
coisas.
it and do not
Quando
measure
não puder
things.
aguentar
And when you
mais,
cannot
faça
give
mais
more,
pouquinho.
just
Aí
do a
sim,
little bit more.
você estará
And
numa
there,
boa
then
situação.
you are in a good
Boa
situation.
para nós, não?
Good for
Somos
us,
parte
right?
desta
That we are a
humanidade.
part of this humanity.
O que não consigo compreender, diz uma pessoa,
A person
é
says,
como
What I
Deus,
cannot
Cristo
comprehend
e
is how
Maria,
God,
que
Christ,
tudo
and
vê,
Mary that
que
are
tudo
able to see
sabem,
everything and to know
ainda se
everything
surpreendem
still
com a
surprise
humanidade.
themselves with
Eles não veem o
humanity.
nosso estado.
They do not see our state.
O
Well,
plano
the
evolutivo
evolutive plan
vai se adaptando
adapts
à medida que a
itself
humanidade
while
vai se
humanity
revelando.
reveals
Então,
itself.
o plano
So the
evolutivo,
evolutive plan,
a ideia de
or
Deus, a
in
ideia
the
de
idea
Deus
of
não é
God,
cumprida pela
it
humanidade,
isn't
nunca foi. A ideia de Deus não é cumprida.
accomplished by
Então, à
humanity.
medida
So
que nós
while
vamos
we
nos manifestando,
begin
o
to
plano
manifest
vai se
ourselves,
adaptando
the plan
à
adapts
nossa
itself to our
disponibilidade. Então, o plano de Deus é
disposal.
mas ele vai
And the
se
evolutive plan,
manifestando,
it
ele vai
manifests
se
itself,
desdobrando
and
à medida que nós
while
vamos nos
we
apresentando, à
begin
medida
to
que nós
present
vamos nos
ourselves,
abrindo.
while we open
Para isso,
ourselves.
nenhum
And
de
for
nós
that,
tem que
none
esperar
of
os
us
outros
has
se
to wait
abrirem,
the others to
porque os outros podem não se
open
abrir
themselves,
nunca.
because the
Você
others
tem que
maybe they will
cuidar
never
do seu
open.
trabalho.
You gotta
Você
take care of your
vai se
work. You
abrindo.
will
E à
begin to
medida que
open
você for
yourself,
se
and while you
abrindo,
begin to
o
open
plano
yourself,
para
the
você
plan
vai
for
se
you, it
desenvolvendo.
begins to
Então, se
be
você não
to
se
get
abrir,
developed.
o
But
plano
if you
fica
do not
estagnado.
open up,
Se você se
then the
abre,
plan
o
stays
plano
in the
vai
same point.
desenvolvendo.
But
Em
if you open
você,
up, the plan
com
begins
você.
to be developed
E
in you,
você,
with
a
you.
uma certa altura,
And you, in a certain
poderá
point, you will be
encontrar os
able
seus
to find
afins.
your
Você poderá ir encontrando
alikes.
pelo caminho
You will
os
be
seus
able to
afins.
find in the
Você vai
path
se
your
encontrar com
alikes.
aqueles que
You
se
will find in the
abriram,
path with
e aí
also
vão
with the ones
formando
who open
grupo
up, and then
maior.
you will begin to
Mesmo que
form
não
a
é
bigger
fixo.
group. But
O
all
que
of this
Maria quer
isn't
dizer
fixed,
é que o
because what
plano
Mary
vai se
wants to say
desenvolvendo à
is that the plan
medida
develops
que você
itself
vai
while you
respondendo. E à
begin to
medida que
respond
você
and
vai se
while you
revelando.
are able to reveal
Tudo que você
yourself.
mostrar
All of the things that
disponibilidade,
every time that you
o plano não
show
vai deixar de
a,
ampliar. O plano não vai
disposure,
deixar de se
the
ampliar.
plan will
Agora, só vai se
opens
ampliar
up.
se você
But
der esse
and the
sinal.
plan will
E
also
se
opens up
realmente
if you
você
give
for
this sign and if you
estiver
truly
disposto a realizar
are
isso.
able to
Você pode
accomplish
dizer.
this. This is what she's trying to say.
E que nós sabemos, disse essa pessoa, que nós sabemos qual é o papel
Another
das
person
baleias no
is
equilíbrio do
saying,
planeta.
what is the role of the
Que
whales in the
ultimamente
balance
vemos a grande
of the planet,
quantidade
and
de
that lately we are
baleias que
able to
estão
see a
morrendo
major
encalhadas nas
number
praias
of
ao redor
whales,
do mundo.
whales
O que está
dying in the
acontecendo?
beaches from the whole world. What's going
O que
on?
está acontecendo
Well,
é que as
what's going on
baleias
is that
estão
whales
se
are
desorientando por causa
getting
do aquecimento dos
lost
mares.
due to the
Nós
warming of the
estamos
seas.
produzindo
We are
aquecimento
producing a
planetário
planetary
e
worm,
as águas dos mares também
and
estão se
the
aquecendo.
water from the
E
seas
as
are
baleias
also
estão
getting
morrendo por
warm,
causa
and
disso.
whales are
Porque
dying
as
just for
baleias
that,
são
because the
seres
whales are beings
equilíbrio
from
único
a unique
e são as
balance, and
baleias que,
whales
circulando pelos
are
mares,
the ones that going through the
ajudam que o
seas
eixo do
help
planeta se
that
mantenha em
the
equilíbrio,
axis of the
porque as
planet
baleias
stays
são
in
um
balance,
grupo
because
bastante considerável. E
the
esta
body of the whales
matança
is
de
a very
baleias que estão fazendo inconscientemente,
important
isso está fazendo
thing.
com que se elimine
And
esse peso
whales,
que
by
sabiamente
dying in the
caminha pelos
beaches,
mares,
this means
circula pela terra, ajudando que o eixo terrestre
that
se
we are
mantenha em
losing the
equilíbrio.
help
Mas a
that they bring to
humanidade
us in
vê
order
por
to
aparências
maintain
e a
the axis of
humanidade
the
acha que
planet
baleia
in
é
the
uma
right
fonte de óleo,
place.
uma fonte de gordura.
But we think that whales are a source of oil, a source of fat, but whales aren't here for these things. The whales are in here so that in a conjuncture, in a group, to maintain the axis of the planet balance. We've got news, of people that know the subject of the whales and that pray so that this matter shall be amished, because whales are very developed animals, way more than what we think. And if you do a prayer for the situation of them, they receive it and they got a greater stimulation for this. So a prayer for the whales certainly gets to their goal. And a person was praying Hail Mary with the heart. It was in the car, guiding the car, the vehicle, and all of a sudden emerged the possibility of an accident. So she remembered that she was praying Hail Mary because she was naturally praying it. So the possibility of an accident emerged. He saw that, she remembered, she concentrated herself in a Hail Mary, and she said that the accident didn't happen in a way that she said that it was as a miracle, and that this was as a result of the prayer itself. So she would like for us to share this experience. And in here, a person had a dream that all of the people that she knew, family members, friends, they were all being carried in hospital beds, and that there was that any accident had happened, but everyone, all of the people that she knew in the dream were in hospital beds. But she saw that everything was presenting to her as a natural environment. So, well, we know that humanity is ill, because just an ill humanity can have the life that we got. So the dream is showing that all of the persons that she knew as humanity, they are all being carried in hospital beds. To recognize this will be a test of humility, so this person is being tested in humility. From all of the people that you know and that you think that everyone are really good people, actually they are being carried in hospital beds. If you are able to see this, if you're able to be thankful of seeing this, then you will be able to help them more. But if you think that it was a fake dream, that they are not in hospital beds and that they are okay, then you won't be able to help them because you aren't in the reality. Because it was shown to you the reality of all of the people that you are related with and that you estimate. That is the reality. It was shown to you. Now you know that you gotta help them all. All of the ones that were in hospital beds are the ones that you gotta help. So ask for light, because it seems that you can be useful for them. And a person in here is asking which is the difference in between watching with the third eye and watching with the consciousness. Because we study different ways of visions. We can see with the third eye, with the consciousness. But the main difference is that what you see with the consciousness itself, it comes from the soul, and what you can see with the third eye, it comes from anywhere. The gland can be developed and can show you what is going on in any place, or also fantasies, illusions that creations that have no,
Isto não impede
that aren't
que sua alma
connected with the
te
reality at
faça
all.
ver pelo terceiro olho.
But
O
your
terceiro
soul
olho em
can
si
also
não
make
é
you
nenhuma
see through the
garantia.
third eye.
Mas se
The
a
third
alma
eye
usa
isn't a
o teu
guarantee at
terceiro
all,
olho para
but
te
if the
mostrar
soul
uma
uses
coisa,
your third eye in
isso
order to show you
o terceiro
something,
olho pode
look,
funcionar, pode
that
ser
can
útil.
work. It can be
E
very
certas
useful.
coisas,
And
a
certain
alma não
things,
consegue te
soul
passar pela
cannot
consciência, porque sua consciência não
transfer
está
to you
aberta
through
e
the
nem livre.
consciousness because
Então,
your
nem
consciousness
sempre a sua
isn't
alma
open
pode
and
falar
free.
a partir
That's
da
why the soul
consciência. Você
is not
pode nem
always
perceber que ela
available
está
to
falando da
send
sua
you certain
consciência.
things through the
Então, nesse caso, ela
consciousness.
pode te
So in
abrir
that
o
case,
terceiro
the
olho e te
soul can
mostrar.
open you the third
E
eye
aí, te
and show you
mostrando
something.
alguma coisa, você não vai duvidar que ela
And
está
by showing
falando
you
com
something,
você.
then you won't have
Mas
the
a
doubt
visão
of knowing that
autêntica
she is telling you
é da
something.
consciência.
But the
Quando a
real
alma
vision is
usa
the
o
one that
terceiro
comes from the
olho, aí se
consciousness. When the
pode
soul
confiar.
uses the
Mas
third
quando
eye,
não
then
é a
you
alma,
can trust.
desconfie das
But
suas visões. Uma pessoa está perguntando se é possível
a third person is
que
asking
nós estejamos em
if we
sonhos
be
trabalhando
in
nos
dreams
lugares de conflito do
working
Oriente
in
Médio.
some
Sim, é
places of
possível.
conflict in the
Há
Middle East.
seres que não estão
Yeah,
lá
it's possible. There
fisicamente,
are
mas que
beings
estão
that
trabalhando em
aren't there
sonhos.
physically speaking, but they are
E nosso
working
corpo
in the
astral,
dreams. In our
os
astral
corpos
body,
internos,
our inner
podem
bodies,
se locomover
they
com o nosso
can
corpo
move
físico enquanto
with our
dormimos
physical
e
body
pode ir
while
trabalhar
we
no
sleep,
Oriente
and
Médio.
they can be
E
working
não
in the
precisa
Middle
estar
East.
adormecido
And
por
it
causa
isn't
disso.
necessary to be
Eu posso
asleep
estar aqui
due
neste
to this. I
momento,
can be
igual
in
eu
here
estou
right
fazendo
now,
como
for
exemplo.
example.
Eu posso
I'm
estar
saying
aqui
this as an
nesse
example,
momento
okay?
e estar
I can be
trabalhando
in
no
here,
Oriente
for
Médio,
example, right now,
porque
and
ao
also
mesmo
being working
tempo
in the Middle East,
são os
because,
corpos
and at the same
internos que vão
time,
trabalhar
because
lá
are
no
the
Oriente
inner
Médio.
beings who
E nós
go there
continuamos
in order
aqui
to work in the
fazendo a
Middle
nossa
East,
vida
and we
normal. Isso é
continue here
possível, sim.
accomplishing our
Agora,
normal
em alguns
life.
casos, quando os
Now,
corpos
in
saem
certain
para
cases,
fazer um
when
trabalho desses, os
bodies
corpos
leaves
passam
us
por
in order to
processos
do those
intensos
works,
e isso pode refletir aqui
bodies
no físico.
go
Mas
through
você, tendo
certain
consciência do que está
hard
acontecendo, você
experiences,
vai
and that
saber
can
se
be
regular
reflected in the
a
physical
cada vez
body.
que isso
So
acontecer.
you gotta try to have consciousness about this in order to regulate these
E
things.
uma pessoa
And a
vai
person
começar a estudar
is going
psicologia
to begin to study
e
psychology
profundamente quer
and
ajudar as
deeply
pessoas
wants to
no
help
equilíbrio
people
mental
in
e
the mental and
emocional.
emotional
E
balance.
ela gostaria de
And
saber
she would
qual
like
é a
to know
melhor
what
forma
is
de
the best
realizar
way
esse
of
trabalho
accomplishing this
sem que
work
ela seja
without
afetada
being
pela energia das
affected through the
pessoas.
energy of people.
Se você vai estudar
Well, if you're
psicologia,
going to study
precisa se
psychology, you
preparar
need to prepare
para
yourself
ter
in order to be
neutralidade
neutral
diante de quem você
before
escuta.
who you're going to
Você está
listen to.
escutando
If you are
alguém
listening
em
to someone
psicologia,
in
você tem que
psychology,
estar
you
neutro.
gotta be
Você não tem que tomar
neutral. You
partido, não tem
cannot
que se envolver
be in
com o que está
any
ouvindo.
side. You
Você
cannot be
está
involved with
neutro
what
e
you are listening to.
simplesmente
You gotta be
ouvindo.
neutral and just listening.
Se você estiver
If
nessa
you are
posição
in
de
that
estar só
position
ouvindo
of
e
being
registrando,
just
a
listening and
capacidade da
registering,
sua
the
alma
capacity of
de
your soul
transmutar
of transmutating,
começa a se operar,
it
começa a
begins to
acontecer.
work.
Então, se você está
So,
em
if
psicologia
you are in psychology
ouvindo, só
listening,
observando, no
just
sentido de
observing,
ouvir, porque a pessoa
meaning
precisa ser ouvida.
listening,
A
because
pessoa precisa
people
de alguém que
needs to be
escute,
listened.
de
People need
alguém que
someone who
enquanto ela
listen,
fala não fique pensando em outra
and
coisa,
someone who's
não fique
hearing,
julgando.
not to
A
thinking
pessoa
about something else
necessita
or
ser
judging.
escutada.
People needs to
Então
be
você
heard.
fique ali
So you stay
escutando a
there
pessoa,
listening
sem tomar
to the
nenhum
people,
partido,
not
sem se
being
alterar.
in any side,
E aí
neither.
a sua alma vai transmutando
And then
tudo
there
aquilo
your
que você
soul
escuta.
begins to transmutate all of the things that
Esse
you
é o
hear.
verdadeiro psicólogo.
That is the
Não é
real
quem diz pra
psychology,
você o que
not
você
the
deve
one who
fazer.
tells you what
O
you gotta
verdadeiro
do.
psicólogo
The
é
real
aquele que está ali
psychology is
só
the
para
one
te
who is in there
escutar.
just to
E a
listen to you.
alma dele
And
vai
the soul of them
transmutando
begins
o
to
que vai
transmutate
ouvindo.
what is
Mas para a alma
listening. But
transmutar,
for the soul, in
precisa
order
que
to
você
transmutate,
saia do
it's
leito, que
necessary
você
that
somente escute.
your
Que aí a
mind
alma
just
a
listens,
sua alma
because
se
then your
ocupa de
mind
transmutar aquilo.
takes
E
care
aí
of
a
transmutate the
pessoa pode
situation,
ser
and there
ajudada,
people
muito
can be
ajudada.
helped, very
Mas para
helped.
isso você
But for
precisa
that, you need
colocar sua
to
alma
place your
na
soul
frente. Todas
before.
as vezes que for
Every
receber um
time
paciente,
that you are
coloque sua
going
alma
to
na frente.
receive a
Deixe
patient,
ela que
place
transmute
your
tudo
soul
que
in
está
the front of
acontecendo.
it,
Você ali fica
and just
como
let that everything happen,
instrumento.
and there you will be an
Escute bem,
instrument.
não?
Listen
Você
well,
precisa se inteirar
because
do
you
que se
gotta
passa,
know what is
né?
going on
Para ser mais
in order
seguro.
to be more secure about the situation. situation.
Muito obrigado então a
Well,
todos
thank you all,
e vamos ver
and we are
se
going to see
faremos uma outra
if we are
partilha
going to have another
como
lecture
esta, não?
as this one, right?
No dia
The
28 de março,
28th
estamos
of March,
segunda-feira,
that is
28
Monday,
de março.
Monday
Isso
28th
será
of
confirmado
March
no
2016. This will be
internet.
confirmed
Em
on the
princípio,
website.
nos preparemos para o dia 28 de março.
But let's prepare
Obrigado.
ourselves for this day. Thank you all.